Hello and welcome to the Rabyd Atheist. I'm Ed Rabyd, a former pastor turned atheist, now compassionate anti-theist. Welcome to my channel. Feel free to like or dislike the videos you see fit, so feel free to hit those buttons. Feel free to comment below, and I would appreciate it if you'd subscribe to the channel and hit your notification bell for more content as it is released. You're also free to share my videos as much as you like, because the purpose of this channel is educational in regards to atheist and deconversion issues and any issues related to those issues. A hearty shout out to the Rabyd Nation. Join the nation by hitting that subscribe button, and if you want to support the channel in a more tangible way, hit the join button and your membership options for citizenship in the Rabyd Nation will be presented to you. As you can probably notice, I've picked up a microphone, so over the next couple of videos I'd be interested in any comments based on sound quality and things like that. Just give me some feedback. I'd appreciate that, just so I can see if it's made any significant change. Today I want to, however, go and kind of wrap up this series that I've been doing, The Case Against God's Existence. Just kind of bring some end to it, some end game to it. And when I started this series, I had basically a twofold purpose: to understand and present the arguments against the existence of God. What are they and what do they say? And then my second purpose was to evaluate those arguments to see whether or not they had any merit. Was any of them kind of this silver bullet, yeah, God does not exist, no deity exists kind of argument? Or were they very much, piecemeal, things like that? I think all told, I've evaluated 20-some of the arguments, and I think the overall case has been made. There may be some other arguments out there that I've missed, but I don't know what they would be. I'm not really sure what they would be. I'm sure there's something out there. It's kind of like the case for God's existence. There's other arguments for the existence of God that I probably haven't covered on the channel, but to me, until they come up, until I'm aware of them, it's kind of, it's out there. So I'm kind of going to give a final evaluation of where I stand today and what I think about some of these arguments. And I would say a lot of these arguments have some pretty good punch against the existence of a deity or deities, but all of them seem to lack that what I've been calling the silver bullet quality, the thing that absolutely destroys the notion of God or the existence of God. Do any of them have that? No. I would say, however, that two of them that I evaluated seem to have a lot of strength in the fact that they can handle a lot of the concepts of God or monotheism, polytheism, pantheism. They hit all of those, the universe is God sort of thing. Is there some sort of thing to that? And I think the two best ones that after I got done with were Occam's razor. And then I think also theological non-cognitivism has a lot of punch too, because it says, hey, the whole notion of God is kind of nonsensical, and here's why. And I think both of these arguments really take on the whole idea of deity, okay, whether it's omniscient deity or polytheistic deity or whatever. Both of these kind of like, is this even necessary, and does this even make sense? Okay, which really, when you think about it, these are two of the probably strongest counter arguments to the existence of any deity or deity system. And so you have that element to it. But I would also say that, the rest of them kind of seem to be focused on a specific type of God that can be very strong in their own right. Like, I think the problem of evil is very much a very strong argument against a benevolent God or a loving God. I think, other arguments point at, logical inconsistencies with saying a God is omnipotent and all-loving, or would an omnipotent God even create at all, so on and so forth. I think all of these kind of have their own punch and their own utility. I'd say after looking at all of them, the Omni-God in particular, the omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent, all-loving God, takes absolute multiple hits. And I think there's a real strong case against that God's existence. And so, it's a definitely powerful case. While, a lot of people at this point would say, well, you're kind of giving different weight to all these arguments, and maybe cumulatively they have value. Now, I don't allow that with the arguments for the existence of God that are logical soliloquies. Because to me, if a logical soliloquy fails because it's either not sound or invalid, it's worth zero. But very few of the arguments against the existence of God are logical soliloquies. Okay, they're either counters to logical soliloquies for the existence of God, or they have some different way of approaching it through reasoning. They don't necessarily put up a logical soliloquy to be debunked or whatever, or challenge the truth of the premises and the conclusion. Rather, they bring up objections to why certain concepts don't work, or certain concepts point against the existence of a deity. And so you can kind of say they make a good cumulative case in some senses, but not always. And so it's a little bit more complicated with the arguments against the existence of God. Probably what shocked me the most is how many of these things there are. And I didn't even cover all of them. There's tons and tons of arguments against the existence of God. The arguments for the existence of God tend to come in like 8 or 9 varieties. They all link back to those basic 8 or 9 arguments for them. Are there any weaknesses to any of the ones I covered? I think the super specific nature of some of these arguments is a weakness. Not that it makes a weak argument against a specific aspect of deity, but because you can't really, if you make an argument that's very strong against the omnipotence of God, that doesn't really rule out a very powerful deity that isn't all powerful, It doesn't, it points at a very specific aspect or characteristic of God that would exist, and that doesn't necessarily kick the rest of them out. It doesn't destroy the rest of them. So, because of the very specific nature, it's like you have a rifle. If I can use a gun analogy, I know, terrible gun analogies, but if you understand military hardware, and I've studied military hardware, my dad was in the military, and so was my grandfather. When you look at it, different weapons have different roles, and when you look at the arguments against the existence of God, you're trying to tear that down. You can look at it in a sense of saying, this weapon has a very specific function. And I think that's what a lot of these arguments have. They have very specific functions. They do a very specific thing in trying to remove deity. And part of the problem there is nobody really makes a good case anymore against polytheism. Polytheism escapes a lot of these criticisms. It escapes the problem of evil problem. It escapes the omni problem. But not a lot of these arguments, other than Occam's razor and theological non-cognitivism, I think could be applied to polytheism as well. Those are the only two very general arguments against the existence of God that give you a general tool to take away those things. So I'm not sure that any of these arguments really specifically smash the living hell out of deity. It doesn't do that. They're very specific. They're like a rifle targeted at a specific target. Whereas, like, Occam's razor seems to be more of a howitzer. Like, you can level, cities with this thing. Is it a nuclear bomb? No. But it's a very powerful weapon. I think theological cognitivism is very similar. They're weapons that, against the idea of God that, I hate to use military analogies, but they're the best ones that fit when it comes to argumentation at times. So we have that element to it. So I don't know that I'm going to say that I'm super convinced. So my final evaluation at the end of all of it is, I've been a 6.9 atheist for a long time on Dawkins' scale. 1, because it's funny, and 2, because it's pretty much an accurate representation of the reality of how I look at it. But I think the arguments against the existence of God, some of which I've never considered, kind of really smash the whole idea of God a little bit further. I've always said that I don't really think that anybody's going to present evidence to me for the existence of God that'll be convincing, because so far, after millennia of trying and all the arguments that are tired and old and been around forever, that have been debunked many, many times and shown the faults of many, many times, they haven't done it, and nobody's come up with anything new in at least I don't know how long. I just don't feel that's the case. Well, now with all these arguments against the existence of God, I think there's some pretty good ammo to kind of push back the other way too. That there's some sort of element to that. Would I become a 7.0 atheist where I say there is no God and make that claim? No, I don't think so. But I do think I have to find some way to be stronger than a 6.9. So I'm going to go 6.969. I'm going to move from dinner for 2 to dinner for 4. And that's my level of atheism at this present time. I'm going to continue to, I think, deep dive this. Yeah, I did it because it's funny. I'm going to continue to go down this path because I've never really examined the claims of those who say there is no God because I've never really felt it was necessary to maintain my atheism. This is more a question of what type of atheist I am. And I think also when we discuss these arguments against the existence of God, other issues about the case for God's existence come up, and it becomes continued running discussion. So I've got two paths before me, and I'm trying to pick which one. I'm either going to go into the mode of, okay, this is the argument for the existence of God. This is the counter argument for that argument. Which one pushes back the best, or I'm going to delay that. And I've got a book that I'm reading that I think might present some more arguments against the existence of God that I want to consider. And I'm going to head down that path. And a lot of people say, well, why aren't you switching back to the arguments for existence of God? I'm doing it because I haven't really delved down this path very much. I've looked at all the arguments for the existence of God since I was in apologetics class in Bible college. So, that's nothing new to me. For me personally, the main question is, can one prove that there is no God? Okay, can you prove it? And I think it's important for atheists to delve into this discussion not because I think we have to prove our atheism, but because for our own personal purposes, being honest and being objective about our own arguments against the existence of God, I think is very important to show theists that we're not just, wholesale, following all these arguments. I hope this series has showed one thing, that I don't just follow the arguments that people that say there is no God and say, yep, that proves there is no God. Well, I'm like, has some of the same problems the arguments for the existence of God have. Okay, and so, I'm kind of trying to be as objective as possible about that and look at it from both angles. So I hope this series has been helpful. I'm going to leave it up. It's just kind of my broad brush look at all the arguments against the existence of God and what I feel about them. I'm either going to deep dive this a little bit more, or I'm going to start going point counterpoint. Either one of those series is going to be long, but as always, Thursday is going to remain this running discussion. Does God exist or doesn't God not exist? Okay, and so we're going to continue to have that discussion because from an atheist point of view, it's the discussion that matters. Thanks once again for stopping by. I appreciate every like, share, and subscribe. You guys are great. The channel continues to grow. It continues to get views. I appreciate that. The ad revenue is starting to add up a little bit. It's slow but sure, but it's getting there. Once again, the new microphone, if you guys could give me some feedback on that, that would be great. And as always, live your best life. You only get one go around and then it's over. So don't waste your time, your money, your talent, your treasure on all the trappings of religion and faith, but rather give yourself to improving yourself, giving to those you love and care for, and making this a better world. You'll be happier if you do so. Trust me, I know. I speak from experience. And as always, thanks for stopping by, and I'll catch you next time.